A lot of people want to network by throwing business cards at people and trying to sell. You're not going to sell to someone that you've just met, but you can learn more about them and who do they know. So it's a long-term game, but the right partnerships can just carry you through a lot of ups and downs in the business world.
Welcome everybody to The Shift with Kevin Boetis. It's the podcast where we work on putting in our afternoon shift and work on our mindset, getting a shift in that, in meeting people and learning from others. Today, my guest is Mr. John Watson, the LinkedIn guru. Can I call you that already? This guy just shows up everywhere. Like if you just log on and you're trying to do the entrepreneurship thing at anywhere, if the algorithm picks up that there's sniffing the entrepreneurship, then you're probably going to come up onto it. So welcome to the podcast, Bert.
No, thank you so much, Kevin. Looking forward to having a nice chat.
Yeah, today we find ourselves in Stellenbosch. So I'm in the Western Cape. I'm a bit out of my depth over here. I'm used to the hustle and bustle of Joburg, and suddenly everything just slows down a tad bit when you're coming in over here. So you're originally from Joburg?
No, so my story is a bit long. The fast version is born in PE, Randfontein, Pretoria, Hoedspruit, Cape Town, back to Pretoria, and back to Cape Town in 2018. So yeah, we've been here since 2018.
All right. So you got the proper South African vibe.
Yeah, I lived in 5 of the 9 provinces. So.
Okay. All right. Any expectation to move to any of the other 4?
No, not at the moment. I'm pretty happy in number 1. So
can't get some Limpopo heat or something going on. All right. Laka, man. So do you maybe want to just share with the audience what it is that you do? Give us a bit of a brief history, and in the same way, I'm actually also learning more about you in this. Yeah.
A brief history of John Watson starts with what happened 2 years ago when our life was rocked. Everything was under control. I was working for a software company as a person in Cape Town, a Joburg-based company. I was helping connect the dots for them and focus on our public sector clients and doing some normal CA consulting work at the same time. My wife was doing actuarial consulting. She was much cleverer than me. And suddenly, while we were on holiday, my father-in-law passed away. And we had to take over a family business. And 3 months later, my mother passed away. Oh, wow. So that kind of rocked our world completely. I ended up resigning a couple of months later and supported my wife with the family business, which is still in the estate process at the moment. So up until then, everything was kind of hunky-dory. But since then, it's been a bit of a journey. But it's also shown me more about my right place. And I've always been a natural connector of people and ideas. People know me as a person that has good connections. I remember connections. I remember, hey, go and talk to this person or check this company out. Sure. And now I've kind of made it my mission and my life work to connect the dots. Yes. So I am a CA. I do a little bit of CA work still, but my main focus is connecting people and ideas. Yeah. And I feel very blessed to do it. It is not always the easiest thing to do, but I enjoy it, and I believe it's my calling to do it and help people connect.
Yeah. So I mean, we connected over LinkedIn, and then we actually met at the Suits and Sneakers event last year up in Joburg. So seeing the connection thing, I'm really interested in this idea of how you're making connections with people and like actually owning that space. Maybe just go into a bit deeper, because it sounds like you could potentially be like almost like a kingmaker. I know if I use that description, people go like, no, it's not political. But that element of it, of like seeing things. So how do you?
Well, when people start talking to me, I think in connections. I think this person's complaining about this thing. They're complaining about a website. Okay, why don't you speak to this person? Sort it out. Stop complaining. Yeah. There's options and opportunities out there. Or they're complaining about not being able to get their product to launch, or their travel agent sucks, or they've got this other problem. So when people talk to me, I'm thinking, hey, but why don't you talk to this person? Yeah. So that's just how my brain works. I didn't decide how it works, but now I'm very aware of how it works. So I'm even more dialed in terms of the connections. Yeah. And I enjoy having conversations with people, especially people that I like and I want to see succeed. Yeah. And I think that's the part of me that not many people get, is that I'm not in here to be in competition with you or to anything like that. I'm here to help you succeed in some way. And that might be the right connection, or inviting you to an event where you can maybe expose your business, your products, your services, or invite you to an event where I'm going to be at, like the Psycho Finance Leaders or the Suits and Sneakers event or a Lacquer Network event, something like that, where you can meet some like-minded people. Some people do go through network slumps. They're down in the trenches, they're building their business, and then they come up for air like, sure, okay, now I need to sell this thing, or now I need a new business partner, or now I need another investor, or something like that. Yeah. And that's hopefully where they'll come and talk to me, and we'll put together a bit of a game plan, and I'll give them my best advice. And then hopefully they can make some good connections and turn their world around.
This connection thing, is it like a formal thing that you're doing, like a business? So I'm trying to understand how it works. Like, is it a consulting thing that you do?
Yeah, so I would say it's a mix of consulting and business development, but also building relationships and being intentional about it. Okay. A lot of people want to network by throwing business cards at people and trying to sell. You're not going to sell to someone that you've just met, but you can learn more about them and who do they know. And maybe after you've built a bit of a relationship with that, they're going to open up their network to you. So in terms of the business model, each relationship is different. Some people will pay me on a commission basis based on what I did for them. Some is more an hourly rate, where it's like, okay, we're actually going to build this together. We're going to build a private networking event for you, or some other consulting services like that. Others is a success fee. Other is even a combination of retainer as well. But it's to help them maximize their network so that they can get their product services out in front of the right people, or that they can make the right connections to build their business. Because networking isn't just about sales. Maybe you need better suppliers. Maybe you need a better export partner, a better import partner. Maybe you need a better connection at your factory in China. Maybe you need a better social media manager. So it's not necessarily about sales. Well, I need to talk to more people to buy my stuff. It's like, well, maybe if you had a better social media manager, or you had a better LinkedIn person that could open those doors for you. And hopefully that's where I come in.
Okay. So you're kind of seeing like an end to end of the business, having conversation and saying, and then you're looking where in this value chain you can basically be improving, getting efficiencies and making connections to people.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think a lot of time the business owners are so focused on building the business on the inside. So they're working in the business. Yeah. They're not working on the business. They're not visible. They don't have a good LinkedIn presence. They don't have a good social media presence. They don't have a newsletter. And they're not broadcasting what their company is about. Once they're ready to go to market with the product, then they expect everyone to clap hands for them. And it doesn't happen. Because they haven't got an ecosystem of connections. And if you don't have connections, you can't build relationships. If you don't have relationships, you can't get to the partnership level where you've got these long-term partnerships in place. I look after you, you look after me, or our businesses are in sync, or there's synergy between the people that we know. Yeah. So it's a long-term game, but the right partnerships can just carry you through a lot of ups and downs in the business world.
Yeah. I think a lot of guys, the partnerships thing kicks in when sales dip, when there's, when it's rough, then suddenly the efforts come up. And I think I'm guilty of it, at least, when things are going well and you're like,
Yeah.
Because look, I think this ties up a bit to you. So by my natural self, I'm more of like an introvert. I would prefer smaller crowds, less people, more intimate conversations. I believe you're similar in that regard. I read a bit of your story on LinkedIn, right? So how did you transition into becoming a connector? Because a connector is not somebody that you necessarily associate with somebody who's more inclined for the smaller crowd. So how are you transitioning out? And then also for like people that feel like us. Like, what's maybe one or two practical things in making these connections?
Well, I think one of the skills that I was blessed with is listening. Okay. As introverts, we listen a lot. We're watching the extroverts jump up and down and go crazy and make a lot of noise. And we're like, what is wrong with these men, sir? Yeah. But introverts, we listen a lot. People talk to us. We remember what people say. And that's a bit of a superpower. Last year on our podcast, the Right Place podcast, we interviewed Helen Nicholson, who wrote the book Networking for Introverts. Okay. And the trick is introverts do not have to become extroverts. You don't have to become the life of the party, the loudest person in the room. Yeah. Remember, the extroverts dominate the space, and people are just in awe of them. Oh, yes, I wish I could be that. But oftentimes those people have a smaller network than an introvert because they're too much to handle. They're too big. They're too loud. Everyone assumes, oh, this guy's got 10,000 friends. I don't need to be his friend as well. Introverts can be friends with a lot of people because they're the quiet ones. They're the dependable ones. They show up, they add value, and they're not keeping score. Extroverts are keeping score. They're like, well, I've got 2 Ferraris, you've only got 1 Ferrari, or I went on holiday to New York City. They're playing these big flashy games that we see on Instagram, or sometimes on Instagram. Yeah. So on the introvert side, introversion is a superpower. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to say, oh, I'll never be as cool. Yeah. If you look at a lot of business leaders and world leaders, they're introverts. They're very quiet people. They recharge by themselves. They enjoy more the one-on-one interactions. Mm-hmm. How I got involved in standing in front of people is just by default. One day I was playing cricket on the cricket field, and my friend Wayne ran up to me and said, hey, we need a 3rd person on our debating team. And that's where my public speaking career started. So I was thrown into it, had to memorize some cards, had to start standing up in front of people, and I enjoyed it. I never knew I actually wanted to do that, and it's become a norm. So I'm a quiet person, but I can still stand up in front of 100 people. Like I've done at the Psycho Finance Leaders Conference and some other MC gigs. So if someone is an introvert, that's a good thing. That means you're probably a good listener. Okay. Maybe you just need to listen more. So instead of talking and talking, listen. What are people talking about? What challenges are they talking about? How can you help them connect? Yeah. And then when you're listening as well, maybe your company can be a useful company to know, or you can be a useful person to know by helping them connect or build a bridge to a better solution.
So having motivation, or you're motivated with with connecting people and that, I think LinkedIn is a good platform for doing that, for making the connections. I mean, this is as a result of that, right? Cross province, and we're having that conversation. I don't know what's your streak at the moment. Like every day you've got it, like it's like clockwork on it. What's your current streak at the moment?
I think my streak, there was this LinkedIn Wrapped thing, I think last year I got 58 days in a row. Okay. You know, I do miss 1 or 2 days, but I try not to, because if people want to know what was John thinking about, just look at my LinkedIn. It's kind of like my journal of my thoughts. Like a brain dump of and I don't spend hours and hours on the post, because I've done it so many times. I can write a post in a couple of seconds because I think in post. I know, okay, it needs to be a hook, it needs to be a quote, it needs to be a couple of points. Okay, then sometimes it takes longer to choose the photo or the video or whatever.
Than to actually write the post.
Yeah. And I enjoy doing it because it's a journal for me. I often go back to, what did I say last time? Or what was that cool post I wrote about this? That was a cool point. And I still get, and the thing is, you build up this repertoire of material, and that is very useful. And then sometimes I need to do a talk, or I need to do a presentation, and then I've got some material. Hey, I remember I said that, or this person commented on the post. Sure. And that's very helpful. So it works both ways, but it's not just about the posting. It's also about reaching out and commenting on other people's stuff, your stuff, a couple of other cool LinkedIn friends whose stuff is really, really cool. And it's not in my lane of connecting people and ideas. It's like strategy or social media or building the inside of a business or compliance. And that stuff, I look forward to seeing it on a daily basis.
Mm. You're running your own podcast, The Right Place.
Yes.
I've actually made some connection with Rudolph, who's your partner on it. So why, like, the podcast that you're running is what's the intention around it, and why are you not doing it by yourself? Why are you partnering up?
Well, I always thought it would be nice to collaborate with somebody on it so that we could have a consistent chat every now and then. A solo podcast can be quite daunting. And at the time I thought, hey man, I know Rudolph. Rudolph's the most connected person I know in Pretoria. Let's do the podcasting. Him and I have a similar journey, finished articles at the same time, became CA, did consulting work, went to private sector. So we know each other's story quite well. We've been friends for 19 years. And he's a cool guy, and I always enjoyed talking to Rudolph. So it was a bit of a no-brainer for me, and it was a bit of a safety net in the beginning because you don't know what you're doing. But I knew that we needed to start and we needed to do something, and I knew it would be good for us. And we still get random people saying, hey, I didn't know you had a podcast. Or, oh, I see you've got this podcast, tell me more about it. Or I saw this episode of this person. So it's good for our visibility. Yeah. But it's a wonderful way to connect with people. and learn from people. And our whole premise with the right place is, how did people find their right place? Are they in their right place? And we want to be that podcast that helps people reflect on, am I going in the right direction? Am I in the right roles? Am I in the right relationships to get to my right place? Because in your right places, that's where you're going to be at your most fulfilled. You're going to be happy in your job, and you're going to have that satisfaction, like, I'm making a difference.
Yeah, look, I think I was listening to the ones that you had for this year. I think you're on plus 50 episodes. So well done for that. I think the majority of episodes is something like 80 or 90% of them drop off after episode 11. So you're definitely doing something right if you can be going out all that way out there. Yeah, man. So I enjoy the podcast, and I think it's something that it's part of like my weekly, and then even there's consistency with it. So I take a lot of inspiration from you. Like, it's lucky to see somebody, okay, they also going through the grind, they also putting stuff out, and seeing other people on their LinkedIn journey. So really well done on that, man. What's your plans now for 2025? What's up?
Well, my word for 2024 was network up. That's 2 words, but
Yes.
my idea was to network up, and I really, really did that by
Yes.
connecting with a lot of really cool CIs, connecting with the Suits and Sneakers team,
Yeah.
Mark Shab, connecting more with Renee Lombard and the Lacquer Network.
Yeah.
And my word for 2025 is reach. So I want to reach my potential in terms of the podcast, in terms of my own public speaking gigs, in terms of my connecting business. And so all of my efforts are channeled towards that, to reach the right people, the right places. So working with some really cool companies on helping them connect, building up some new networking events for 2025. Most of them are off the radar and private. People don't always necessarily want a big, loud, flashy networking event. I just came from a private lunch, where there were 4 of us. And it was a very insightful conversation.
Yeah.
And we can talk openly. We trust each other.
Yeah.
And it was excellent. And we were sharing ideas, we were sharing contacts. Hey, you should consider this, or you can do this. So you don't necessarily have to go to a networking event where there's 1,000 people. Yeah. You're not going to talk to everyone. But a small networking event, I've often said, when you've got low attendance at one of my networking events, for whatever reason, the weather, or there's a big show at the DHL stadium, or whatever,
Yeah.
I always tell people, beware of small networking events. This is where the magic happens, because everyone can almost talk to everyone.
Yeah.
And you can get a good feel, and you can have these quieter, longer conversations.
Go deeper than not just wide the whole time. I think when you go to those network events, it's like you're driven, like, I need to speak to as many people as possible.
Exactly.
And see where this is going to go. Which I guess has its merit as well, because you know,
exactly.
from a probability perspective. But I think it's that depth that really makes a difference. How are you managing the family life? Because you've got kids now that are basically entering into their teens, and a wife, and you're trying to do the godly thing, and like trying to give everybody the attention that they do. How are you managing it all?
I think before you can start managing, you have to realize that you can't get to everything. So you need to be very intentional. You need to be very intentional about the meetings that you take, the work that you do, and then putting your family first. So not making it optional, but like, as far as possible, I'm going to attend all of my kids' matches, events, meetings, things like that. Obviously, here and there, stuff happens and you miss it. But you need to be intentional about it. You can't say, I'll see how things work out. If that is your mindset, it's never going to work out. And you're going to miss it, and it's going to become a habit. And then that habit forms over time, and then a whole year's gone by and you didn't watch your son play rugby or tennis or cricket. So I think the intention is important. I know I need to support my wife a lot. The family business is hectic, it's stressful. It's a garage, so it's open 24 hours a day. Anything can happen at any time. Okay. And it's a lot to manage. And we've still got the emotions attached to it, and it was her father, my father-in-law's pride and joy. And we want to take care of it properly. Yeah. That requires time and effort and energy. And then also in terms of the balance is, and I saw this great quote from Daniel Priestley. He said, people fill up their diaries to such an extent that they can't take advantage of serendipitous things that happen or spontaneous things that happen.
Yeah.
So you've got this back-to-back diary from 7 till 7, but just now you meet up a friend at a random place and you can't have a discussion with them because you're going to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So I really try and keep my meetings to the essential and the things that I want to do. And the other ones I keep to emails. Rather send me an email, I haven't got time. But then it gives you space to think or write or work on some of your own stuff as well.
Yeah. And how's your sleeping patterns going? Can you manage to get some decent rest and health?
No, definitely.
Yeah.
So I at the moment I write a lot at night. I can't tell you exactly yet what I'm writing, but it's in progress.
Okay.
So I find my wife sleeps early, kids are in bed, and that gives me an hour and a half to write. And I can channel my efforts and energy, and it ends off the day nicely because I'm emptying my mind onto a page. And then I'm an early riser, so 5:30, 6 o'clock, wide awake, ready to go. I'm a morning person, so I don't drink any coffee. I'm just naturally awake and ready to go.
Congratulations. Well done on that.
Yeah. So, good sleeping patterns, Yeah, not working till 2 in the morning. That there was another quote, I think it was Justin Welsh, who said, if you feel that you're not making the right decisions or you're not getting to the right places or things like that, then go back to your core principles. Are you sleeping?
Yeah.
Are you lying with your phone in your hands at midnight? Are you eating right? Are you exercising? Are you going for a walk? Are you spending time with your spouse, your partner? If none of those things are happening, your work-life balance is out of whack, and you're not going to be able to give your best at work because you haven't got that foundation of what's really important to you.
I like try to maximize. I maximize a lot of my day, and I think it's difficult to the kid. Like, not difficult. It's good that I get to spend time with the kids and that thing. But then, the actual other work happens in the evening, which means I'm later, go to bed later, wake up early, a bit groggier, but less patience with the children, more snappy, and it's just like this vicious cycle that just keeps on going, unfortunately. I like to listen to advice on that specifically, like
and create some space. Don't think that you're missing out. People often think, "Oh, flip, man, I should have done that. I could have also been there." If you miss it, you miss it. It's absolutely impossible to attend every single event. People think that I attend 25 networking events a week.
It looks like
I don't. It might look like that or seem like that on LinkedIn, but
yes.
It's not. I'm also very intentional about it. And if you can't make it, don't go. I mean, Rudolf and I on our podcast said recently, if you're not up for it, don't go. Because you're going to show up, you're going to be irritated, you're not going to be your best self, and people are going to think, what's wrong with this guy?
Yeah. And they're rather going to associate that with you.
Exactly. So rather don't go. Rather spend the time with your family. Just breathe. Môre is nog 'n dag. We have that amazing saying in South Africa. Pick up the pieces again tomorrow and just try your best. If it doesn't work out, môre is nog 'n dag.
Grace for yourself. So thank you very much, John, for joining us on the podcast. I really do appreciate it, and I'm following you, and I wish you all the best for your podcast, for your posting, and that really you're able to continue with that journey. I think the connections are absolutely amazing, man. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks.